Finders keepers, get those pickpocketing fingers ready. This time you're stealing for keeps. You can keep enemy equipment after each fight. Let's give a cheer for the thief who's playing to win wealth, and also more wealth. It's a little unimaginative, but never mind. You can wish for whatever you like, right? Rose is weak to fire. We have none. I don't know if that'll be any good. Give me your crap. Thank you. Steals 1 gold per battle. I mean, may as well until we get something better, right? Am I jumping onto the MMO world again? I was looking at it, but we need to be really honest about this. Final Fantasy XIV, despite the fact that I'm having a lot of fun with it and is an amazing game, is not an MMO. And the fact that it, when you do actually get to play, it plays exactly like any of the WoW era MMO games. It's just not. It's a single player game, but you can jump into dungeons occasionally with people for an extremely minuscule amount of your playtime percentage. Watch time. I gotta remember it's watch time. You watch Final Fantasy XIV, whereas you normally play games. And I'll probably play some more of it, maybe, but... sorry, watch more of it, maybe. Because I do like the story. I think the problem is, it's... I don't think I would ever pay a subscription for it or get a monthly use out of it, because there's just no gameplay. But I do want to play the story, which means I'll have to purchase... well, you can't purchase at the moment. There is some content I can still do in the free trial, because there's unlimited time, but there's limited content. So I wouldn't mind finishing that off, but I'll have to wait until we can purchase again before I can do the other stuff. And because I'd only be doing the single player story, I don't want to be paying for that every month because I was too slow. And I think that's one of the biggest things that put people off the MMO space is the monthly fee. I've got no problem with monthly fees in games because, like when I was playing WoW, I had no issue paying the monthly fee because $15 a month was cheaper than my current spending on video games. You know, and I only needed to play one game because there was all the content in the world. Whereas, yeah, you could easily knock out the Final Fantasy content in less than a month. So I don't see why I'd want to, you know. And so while I'm streaming, it's sort of not the point because I'd need to practically stream it every day just so I could play it. Or risk spending, you know, $90 plus the $50 for purchasing it on a game that's going to be like 40 hours. And it's just not financially... Plus, it wasn't good for the channel anyway. I didn't think it was going to be, but I needed something to do because I'd run out of games that I wanted to play at that point. The TLDR? No. Yeah, I know, that's right. If I wanted to play something that I could have played and had no viewers, I should have jumped into something else. For some reason, I keep saying I want to grow my channel, and then I'd make dumb decisions by playing games no one will watch. And then I thought, you know what? People like Dicey Dungeons, let me jump into that. Like, I mean, I bought one of the games I got on the Steam sale was Rogue Legacy, which will be a lot of fun. Wahaha 9000 first says, you should stream that. I'm like, why? Do I really want to kill off my channel? Like, put the nail in the coffin to it and stop streaming in February? No, I want to try and do the best I can. The fact that that's not reusable makes it... Unless you use hook, which is reasonable. I wonder if I can hook a gold. Not that you need more gold. Can go out for you with day, add up how much money you spent over the course of lifetime playing. Made you feel like you played a ton. A lot of stress. I'm going to get your money's worth. Yeah, I've heard people say that before. And my argument... It was, how much other money did you put into video games? And then over the course of the next year, add up all the money you put into video games and see what the difference is. And almost always, the year they played WoW and put in, what's it, like 15 times 12, so 180 bucks into WoW, plus a smaller amount because you obviously have less time for video games, versus the next year when they buy a new game every month, which is $30 or $40 each month. Or maybe they go cheap and get a $20 game each month. It still ends up being way more than the year that you're paying for WoW. And in before someone goes, I've never played an MMO and I only spent... Well, then you don't count because we're only comparing people that do have the money to spend on MMOs. Started playing Pillars of Eternity. I picked that up. I picked up the Pillars combo in the Steam Tribute. I'll probably never play it. Yeah, it's a CRPG or it's a tabletop on computer CRPG. One of the talks that I really liked from Josh Sawyer was about how they wanted to make it where you could play strange characters without gimping yourself. Which is really hard because people start at min-max and then say anything less is gimping yourself, which is always going to be unfair. So they sort of said, well, we just want the game winnable with weirdly created characters on most of the difficulty levels. You know, and so he gave some examples of things like the strong, I can't remember the race, but like a strong ogre mage or a clumsy rogue, or the intelligent warrior, you know. So that there are these like dichotomies in creation, and they do well because they, you know, the system they developed. I think that's kind of cool. Strange thing asked for me, I didn't care about all the grinding, that was fine, because I got to play, like I was playing. And most of the time I was talking to other people, like friends that I had in real life, family that played, and guildmates that I'd made over time. And I was always doing something. Like I'd jump in a dungeon and they'd get in either the Discord and type into like the guild chat if any, like I was going to tank a dungeon, did anyone want to come along? Or, you know, is there any tanks in the guild? Because I'm going to run one of my damage classes through. You know, someone would be there to jump on and, you know, so it was always playing. Or we'd go out and do some reputation farming as a group. Had different, you know, raid nights, obviously. We had a PvP day where we just did it as a team and we were crap, but we would win because we did it as a team, which is one of the fun things I thought in WoW is that most people go, like there are people started forming PvP guilds and teams and stuff. But at lower ranks, it didn't happen as much. So it was good for us because we could be fairly bad at it, but we just did things for the team, not for the selfish, whereas most people would jump into PvP for themselves. Ooh, that's hard. Good. That's a shame. So there was always a lot of stuff to do. But what killed it for me was that for like the third expansion in a row, Blizzard said, we're going to time the release of raid content better so that we don't end up with a year and a half on the final patch. And for the fourth time or fifth time in a row, they like panicked, blew their load over pushing the release content button, and all the raid content was out within 6 months. It's like, just because, 2% of the players had beaten all that content, they're like, oh, next patch, you know. And every time expansion came out, like, vast majority of the community said, look, just pace it, you know. Sure, bring out some raids. We can wait 4 months for the next lot of raids. You don't have to bring them out in 6 weeks just because, 10 guys managed to beat stuff. And the problem was, then you get to the end of the that content, and you're just playing it for that's all you're doing, which was fine, except a lot of other people will join up and they like the idea. We had a fairly good team, and then we had like 3 raid teams. Some of us were in all of them. Most of the guild were in 2 of them. Almost everyone was in one of them. So we were able to get through content, but what would happen is eventually someone would work their way up the ranks in different teams because they'd get more gear or get better. And then once they had all the stuff, they'd be like, okay, I'm done, I'm out, I'll see you when the next patch drops. And then they'd show up 6 months later or something and be like, oh, I want to raid again. It's like, well, we had to replace you and all the rest. And they'd be like, then they'd abuse you because you didn't save them the spots. Like, what do you expect? We showed up every week and you didn't. Just because there's a new expansion doesn't mean you can just jump back in on the team. And eventually, yeah, it was like the 4th time in a row that had happened. And we'd been doing the last content, and then Blizzard dropped out the last raid patch, and it was less than 9 months after Warlords of Draenor, I think it was, came out, and I'm like, that's it. I'm not playing this for the next year and a half again, just so that we can, watch the entire team set rotate through of people, just so that we have a team at the start of the next expansion. I think that was the thing that you knew that was going to happen. All right, so I kind of got over that where, you put up with someone who was not that good, then they get better gear because they're the only of this class. All right, Bump is good. I like Bump. Pickpocket's been, and then they get all their gear and they're like, oh, I want to kill better stuff, or I want to bring an ult now. It's like, okay, you can bring your ult, but you're automatically last on the loot list. And they're like, why? That's not fair. It's like, because you've already got your 12 items. So you need to come on and not get gear on that guy that's got these 12 items to help the rest of the team get their items. No, that's not fair. It means I can't get anything. It's like, but what about the people who were patiently waiting And they were happy to give you gear so you could get better and be a more contributing part of the team. And now it's time for them to get gear. And it'd be like, and most of the time it's that the person who wants to do that, they're too self-absorbed to understand that someone else has already put out their way. They'll never get it. Otherwise, they never would have suggested something like that. Right? Or they just don't care. They understand it's a dick move. They just don't care. They're just completely selfish. Or they're just naively selfish and don't understand. And are constantly those people throughout life that are always failing to get stuff done and asking other people to fill in for them. And when people do, they wonder why everyone hates them. Because you're just a leech. Yeah. Stop being a leech. Everyone want poison needle. I can do 3 damage or inflict 3 poison, which essentially is 3 damage, but only if I go 2 turns. Well, I mean, I'm going to go 2 turns, but I'm going to want to build on that now, which could be, it doesn't matter, one's can go on there. The other one was the other side of that when, yeah, people got the same thing. They would get a little bit bored because of lack of content, especially at the very end of the raid, like once the last of the raid tier came out. Well, we had alt runs, and it was like, you want to bring an alt, bring it to the alt run. And people didn't want to do that because they're like, yeah, but that run sucks. It's like, well, you know. The Resto Druid main, Knotty Pine, makes sense, yep. There's a fight that dropped a piece of gear and needed, but the fight needed extra rogue to kill it every week, so you brought an alt rogue, got locked to one fight and you never got that piece for your druid. Ah, yep. And some good teammates that were all about the fight for the team, and they were happy to bring characters just for stuff like that, and they were the ones that were always there week in, week out. And ultimately, they were always the ones that got dicked over, but they didn't mind. And some of them had a really good attitude towards it, where it was like, well, Blizzard's going to release all the content early anyway, so if I get all my items sooner, then I'll feel like I've got even more time that I'm spending for naught. You're always under the impression that if you took your ult to the main run, you had to take your main to the alt run. Some guilds I knew, we never did it because I don't think the team we had would have gone for it. But they used to have some guilds I knew would have their alt run on the Wednesday, Thursday. And so you had to preemptively, if that was what you wanted to do, was swap someone out, you had to, kind of like, that was your purchase price of ticket. Yeah, getting denied tier pieces for someone else's alt. Which is fine. If in the long run you look back and you're like, okay, that happened, but then that person stuck around and did the right thing, you're like, yeah, I'm okay with that, right? Oh, hang on, let's do this. Can't remember what I originally started on. I could have killed him that turn, maybe. I think if I'd hooked... they weren't suicide, so because I had thorns and he was on one, but if I'd hooked the lockpick, I would have had on the one, I would have had an extra one. I could have given him an extra thing. Yeah, so for me it was just, it got to the point of constantly having to recruit in that last raid patch, because people would just be like, yep, we've been killing whatever is the last raid tier encounter for 6 months, and I only have one character, I really don't want to hang around. And a lot of people, that was the thing, they didn't want to be paying $15 a month, which, you know, I get it. It's not that much, but I get it. Just to log in on Wednesday, Thursday, do the raid run, and then log out. And some of them were doing that, and I think that was their point, where for most people, they're like, that's it. That's how I know I'm done with an expansion. I log in for raid night, and then as soon as the raid's called, I log out, and I don't come back for another 5 days. You know, and all we're doing is clearing the same content we clear, because our main team would cleared hard content. So, you know, we're doing whatever, you know, heroic Deathwing or what's his name, Garrosh, and all that stuff. And people would have the mounts and things, so it's like there literally was no reason for them to show up except to keep the team together, so that we had a team when the next expansion hit. And as soon as people start falling away from that, well, now you have to recruit or step someone up from the B team. And then doesn't go quite as well, and so then someone else doesn't want to. Someone who was fine showing up every raid for a 3-hour raid that was really successful on the Wednesday, and then however long it took us to finish the clear on the Thursday, which could be, you know, might push the 3 hours or be less, depending, you know, if you had once, especially towards the end. Normally you start clearing it really early on the Thursday, or you might reduce the Wednesday time and go, how about we knock it down to 2 hours both nights? And people were happy with that. But then as soon as that starts pushing out, or you start wiping because you had to replace a tank or a healer, and then it starts that downward spiral where it's like, okay, we've got to make sure we've got people, we've got to recruit every week. And then obviously the later you go into an expansion, the less, not necessarily less quality for skill set. Sometimes you get some really high skilled players at that time because guilds are broken up and stuff. But what you do miss is the chance of getting a loyal team member. Because if it's a guild that sort of just said, oh look, we've just broken up from raids for the expansion, we'll see everyone next year or whatever, you'll get someone that goes, I'm going back to that guild, but I'm going to go try and find a guild that I can just, you know, come to every week. Firelands is fun, yeah. Something that confused you is they never worked a way to make Battlegrounds a standalone option for competitive play. They kind of did, but the problem was that not enough people really wanted it like that. The same as the PvP stuff. Like, for the most part, the majority of PvP players are in it for the self-glory. Right? Small teams work because you still stand out on a small team. When you have 15 or 20 man teams, one superstar doesn't make the team. PvP is all about ego. So the format just doesn't work. He won't hit me because I've got thorns, so I get a free turn against him. Nice. Get wrecked, idiot. There were some people that ran, I don't know how well it worked, but I know that some people tried to set up tournaments with Battleground stuff using like third-party tournament bracket makers and things. one of the things that makes it hard when you run something like that, most of the time there's no stake involved. So if people go, I can't be bothered showing up for this anymore, they just don't, and then teams fall apart and stuff. It makes it hard, especially when you start running for bigger teams and things. And if you want to put a registration fee on there, you're just not going to attract enough people, because people that might have done it be like, I don't want to pay $10 to enter this thing. But if they had paid $10, if somehow you'd extracted the $10 from everyone's wallet, they would probably all show up on time because they wouldn't want to get a forfeit. You find esport ruining fun games? Yeah, I think the issue with that, it would happen in regular sport too if anyone could show up at any point in time to train against anyone else. The exact same thing would happen. Ultimately, the ability to smurf, you can't remove that. And also, someone, online, someone wants to train right now for an hour, they can go train right now for an hour. They want to then go do something for 4 hours, come back and train for another hour, they can. It doesn't work that well in IRL stuff because the requirement for people. Could have split in two, done a little bit extra damage. Esports big enough for people to make careers out of it. Yep, same as regular sports people, right? They're gonna make careers. And the other one too, yeah. Bigger teams are harder to control. The other thing, one of the biggest things too, is that for many reasons, I mean, you get it the same in sports ball. You only need to do that much damage. Bumps to 6, 4, 4. Anytime you see the story about the sports ball dude that threw it all away because he couldn't control his behaviour, and I'm going to say he because it's majority males, but it probably does happen in female sports as well, but let's be gender biased and bash the males. Because he goes out, can't control his behaviour when he goes out drinking / other recreational entertainment on the weekend, right, and throws away a $1 million career. That has has an increased potential to happen to younger players. Because just not seeing the value of what they have in front of them. What do you become? 3 thorns? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's because they didn't understand business, but that's the new generation coming through. Apologies to anyone in the new generation coming through that does understand how finances work. Money isn't always related to winning when it comes to sports. And I think that's the misconception. Just because you're a better team or you've got more accolades or whatever reason, that's not what rates how much you get paid. Now, in a format like you look at tennis or golf, where the competition, like, take sponsorships out of it, right? Like, just take out sponsorships. When you're at the sport you play, your pay is equivalent to prize money. Then the more winning you do, the more prize money you're going to get. Right? When you play a sport where prize money is not the majority of the pay, but the majority of the pay comes from other things like sponsorship or, No, that's pretty much it. Or other sort of endorsement deals or anything else. Winning can contribute you to maybe getting better sponsorship deals. But at the end of it, that's not, it might be irrelevant. A lot of it then also comes from, like, especially team sports that are held in arenas and stuff, whereas you look at like tennis and golf where there is no home team, right? They're going around to other places to fight. Boxing matches and fighting matches, you don't have a home arena. You go somewhere in that arena, like all those things, that's why there's such big prize money, because you're playing somewhere else. When you have potentially a home ground, a lot of the revenue comes from ticket sales, in-ground merchandise, food sales, and all the stuff for having people come to watch you play live. Now, granted, if you're winning a lot, you've got a greater chance of having people come watch you and do things, but it doesn't mean they will. Right? Same in esports. Someone on Twitch, right, could be a really good whatever player, but if people don't go watch their channel and give them money, it doesn't matter what they won. And unfortunately, that's what happened with the soccer team, was that you could argue they were a better team than the men's team. I would be on the side of the fence to say they were a better team, player base wise, right? Pound per pound, game for game, win for win, better team. But it doesn't mean anything to do that their home stadium revenue increased. So why should they get paid more if they don't bring in as much money? And if the argument is because we played better, well, that's irrelevant. Yeah, more ticket sales means more valuable for that's the biggest one. If you have more people in the seats, the ad that gets put on the banner around the outside of the stadium, or an ad that gets played on the Jumbotron, that ad spot sells for more, and then that funnels down to players and things. So in essence, like a team sport like that, your worth as a player is how much money the team's worth as a team, is very similar to like actors' revenue in movies and stuff. Versus, prize pool money, which is usually more, prize pool goes more to individuals. Or some teams, like there's probably a prize pool for some team events, but you're only going to get a share of that prize pool for that tournament. So unless there's a ton of prize pool tournaments, like you look at the professional golf, when it's in season, I think it's like every week there's another major, or not major, but another, whatever the difference between like the minor ones, but the ones like on the PGA Tour, there's like a tour match every week, right? And they're all got good money attached to them. So the better you do, the more money you make. But you'll never have home ticket sales because you don't have that. It's a different thing. So it's just understanding what your financial model is. It's not a simple thing. If I take that, I'm going to want to use less poisons. I think that gives me more versatility. And personally, I think it kind of sucks because, you get a team that is a very strong team and winning, and they should be rewarded. You could say that's not fair, but the crappy thing is that the world isn't fair, Return. But yeah, bringing that back to esports, definitely the bigger teams you have, the more of that you're going to have. And keeping people in check. Whereas especially like in any sort of solo esport arena, the individuals only got themselves to be accountable for. Don't lock my dice, dude. Although locking my dice is better than doing damage. Fine. Lock dice he shall do. No. Oh, you got thorns as well, do you? Alright then. Need to upgrade my poison card then, I think. There's all that as well, true, Pop. But one of the biggest things that, unfortunately, there's a misunderstanding about what people want to watch, what people want to listen to, what activities people want to do. And unfortunately, it really is, it sits right on this very fine grey line of what we probably want to talk about in public and what we don't. And it stems through a lot of the awards, like in music and in movies and sports. Farinthus, thank you so much for the 7 month subscriptions. Appreciate all the support, man. Much love. Part of it is that like the movies and the music have it with best songs and best artists, and the common complaint is that some music brought by minorities don't win because of the team that votes on it. And even when if you enlarge that team, you'd probably end up with similar results, because it'd be like if you took if everyone in the world got a vote and everyone voted for what they like the most, what people like the most is stuff that they like the most. It's stuff that resonates with them. And even though there'll be some people that like things from different cultures more than their own culture, most of the cultural stuff's sort of ingrained in us from a kid because, well, it's what our parents do. And then what our friends' parents do that are the same. And so when you have and unfortunately, like that's literally what the word minority means, is there's less of you, right? I can take no damage if I put 3 poison on him. So it's kind of like a system where if everyone's running to win, does he weak? Right? And everyone gets to vote, and then everyone votes for themselves. So everyone has one vote. No one wins, right? The difference is you only get like X representatives from each group, but then everyone in each group votes for the person from their group. The largest group just wins by default. It's got nothing to do with being racist or genderist or sexist or religious or any other ist. It's just that, in general, people like stuff that they can relate to themselves or stuff that they're familiar with. Do I want a cactus shield? Probably not. Do damage for each thorn? Kind of. Add an extra thorn. And so when it comes to, you know, a lot of sports, most guys want to watch guys playing sports. And that's got nothing to do with the skill or capabilities of either the men's team or the women's team. You know, especially in sports where sometimes the women, you know, are vastly superior than the men. You know. I should have bumped the 6 into 1s. Also, I'm getting very low, I noticed. Why did I hook? I didn't hook that. Almost goofed it. Come on, dude. I got 6 thorns. Hacksaw, split a dice in 3. That's really good for me, but I want an upgrade. I want the upgrade? Yeah, I do. I want this. But then I also want the hacksaw. Can I get an upgrade somewhere else? What's an upgraded hacksaw look like? Ring of Pain is crazy. I've played Ring of Pain. My issue was that I loved the first few levels in it because it's balanced over low numbers, and the idea behind the game was amazing. But it was pretty much, I can't remember the combo because I played it a while ago, but it pretty much just started to get to the point that you just had to house rule against whatever the item set was, because it just felt like you just threw cards out and then won by the end of it. And I felt the scaling was, you just went to absurdly broken to the point where you're not even playing anymore because you've scaled so much, or you get crushed because you didn't. And you know, you go to the the other thing was that I probably could have overlooked, but added onto the fact that, you know, I just didn't find the overall game very fun in the last, you know, after the midway point, was when you get to the room that's kill the dog or kill the frog. It's like, why? Runs depend on builds. Yeah, but the problem was, if you make the build, you're no longer playing. You're literally just spamming cards. I had one win where I closed my eyes and played it out for a win. Just to prove a point. But like I said, I think the concept behind it was amazing, and the first sort of 3 levels really balanced around choices and decisions, and you could plan and strategize. After that, there wasn't any, like I said, you either got to a point where you'd either scaled and you just did, or you didn't, you died. Building up to the level was amazing. Well, that's the thing. Building up to that level was amazing. At which point then I sort of like, well, I've got here, I've pre-won, so I didn't even want to go through the motions of winning. But I also didn't want to house rule myself into not playing with certain items because, well, if they get offered and I have to take something crap, it's like, well, what's the point? I think I want to go... So Monster Train and Spire are probably the least likely games for me to ever play again. I'd done everything in Monster Train prior to the patch where they decided they wanted to just let everyone know they were blatantly copying all the Slay the Spire design patterns. We already knew they were, but when they came out with their own Heart Fight, that was kind of enough for me. And I was already bored because they put out the content patch with no content. Kingdom 2 crowns though, interesting though. Risk of Rain 2, I tried to get into it, it's just not quite my style. I really wanted it to be 2 because it was fun. This dude's strong against poisons. I think I should go up against him first. But I also want to have stuff available. Blindfolded stream? No. It was I had to get to a certain point. I made the off-the-cuff remark that I think if you get to a certain point in Ring of Pain, you could play it with your eyes closed. And someone called my bluff. And they were quite smarmy about it. So I couldn't contain myself to be a better person and let it go. So I took the bait off their hook, along with a few snide remarks, completely uncharacteristic of me, of course. Got to that point and then berated them for the next 10 minutes as I like smashed the crap out of the game. Hades is a good one. I like Hades. Where's Kizron? Kizron, are you taking notes for all these ideas? I just thought I'd call out, see if you're listening. We'll get a list up and then We're gonna have a wheel. And while I'll take all the old game options, because it's always good to have old games to never play, they won't get played. Well, maybe. Now you're strong against poison, so that's fine. I don't want any of your cards. Claw actually wouldn't be too bad. Instead of Dagger. I think Claw instead of Dagger is probably okay with the cards I've got going at the moment. I don't often dump a bunch of cards into that. I mean, I'm on this fight, but only because of this boss, right? Hey Chroma, how you doing, man? Oh, son of a... Oh, that's messed up. Yeah, Shandai. Okay, don't get hooked on thorns. Don't get cursed on my thorns, I need that. Okay. That's not the greatest. Dude, that looked like it hurt. Aw. Careful. You win. Ooh, that's nice. A glorious floor. Strong against poison though. We're just gonna have to deal with it. If he can just inflict poison without taking thorns, then Witch should be able to throw dice without taking thorns. That means my thorns isn't going to do anything, right? He's just going to throw all day long. Look at those rolls. What sort of hacks is this? What? What's going on? Holy... Rat number generator, yeah. Totally. It better not be Drake. Man, I hate Drake. I think the fact that you have to replace like a double slot in your equipment, it'd be bad enough if it just added it to the fight, but the fact that you've got to take out a double slot. RNG favors Rat King every time? I think so. Rat number generator. Come on, Oifi. Why would I want to keep a piece of your stuff after the battle? It's not how this works. Well, it feels like that's what I'm going to be doing. Oh, 2 6s. When 2 6s is bad, it feels, hey? I'm not finders keeping you just out of spite. That does nothing. Hit me. Yeah, poison's good against armor. Who knew? Oh. Hi, it's me again. I'm on my second warning here, so let's make sure I get this right. I meant to say, spin the wheel to see if you win. And don't say anything about it not being rigged. And don't read that last bit out loud. Does that sound right? I hope so. I love being able to see whenever you win an episode. Totally not rigged wheel. Okay, now I meant to say you'd lose, but sound sympathetic, right? Finders keepers, huh? Sticky hands. I'm out of tea. I'm gonna go get myself a cup of tea. I think we're gonna be playing Mr. Roboto.